Welcome to Babbling Buffoons. All babbling, all buffoonery. I'm Alex.
I'm Jack. Oh man, today we got a doozy for you because it's gonna hit people in our era hard, I believe, because people don't really realize what's going on.
Yeah.
But we're gonna talk about how much we work in our lifetime today compared to when people started working for a system.
Mm-hmm. And on top of that, what also we're affected to nowadays too, because when you think about it, we're not just affected by work with compared to back then. It's also the differences of what other things we need nowadays too, if you really think about it.
Okay, so see, this is going to be a good one then, because I want to ask you a question.
Hmm.
How many days do you believe peasants in medieval time worked per year? Actual worked. Days, and how many hours did they work a day?
I'm going to assume most of them probably were the farmers and did the farm work out in the fields and stuff.
Peasants in general, peasants.
Yeah, I'm just trying to rough guess because most of them had the outside labor jobs and stuff, so I know weather was a factor and whatnot. So I'm just trying to maybe think of a rough guess. I'm gonna average out maybe 150 days, 60 days, something like that.
So pretty close. Actually, one of them was right on. It averaged 160 to 180 days per year. It could be less if weather did not cooperate.
Mm-hmm.
They only worked that many times. Now, that was them working how many hours a day, do you believe?
I'm going to say it might have varied because, we have daylight savings time now and stuff, but I don't know if that was a factor back then. I'm going to possibly just say from sunup to sundown.
10 to 14 hours a day.
So that would get sunup to sundown would probably be that time frame.
They did not work on Sundays.
That was because of I'm guessing, religious.
The church.
Yeah, the church, yeah.
Yeah, the church prohibited.
Well, because that was the
work
Lord's
on
Day and
Sunday,
stuff,
yes.
and even it says, I do know it says in the book that you're not supposed to work on the day of the Lord.
Yeah, so they walked on an average of 15 miles a day.
That's good cardio.
That's a lot of walking. Now, don't get me wrong, they weren't off during the winter. Their hours and stuff was cut completely back because they didn't have a lot to do in the fields. So a lot of it was the maids in the house never got day off other than Sundays. They still had to, they still had to work. They had the less physical job than the people outside, right? That probably actually took the average up in my guesstimation to 160 to 180 days. It's probably actually a lot less if you take away their working schedule.
Yeah.
Right? And it is insane to know that they spent more time with their families and more time at festivals and having fun than work.
Yeah.
So, how many days in a year?
365, and then every 4 years, 366.
Exactly, and they worked 160 days a year. So they literally were off 200.
Yeah.
200 days. And some change. But, I'm sure there might have been some times in their lifetime they had to work a little more in the summer if they got a drier summer.
If you average it out, they at least had half the year off. If you 200 days, 186 months in a sense with extra change. We'll take that extra change and throw it into the work side just because, like you said, shifting and stuff. So, yeah, they worked half a year. They literally had one half of a year they worked, the other half they had off.
And I could see people already thinking, well, they also didn't have sick days. Guess what? People back then didn't get sick like they get nowadays.
That's true. But also back then when people did get sick, though, it was bad sick because their immune systems weren't used to the stuff then. So
I'm glad you brought that up.
So that is a big key difference, though.
So what was the average lifespan, do you believe, back then?
If you were lucky enough, I'm going to say maybe mid-30s to 40s.
Okay, so you're close.
Again?
It was 35.
Oh,
but
nice.
do you know the reason why it was 35 when majority of the people actually lived to be 60?
I would probably say just, overexhaustion in the body from working or...
Most people did not live through childbirth.
Huh.
Or as a child, I should say. Sorry, not childbirth. Sorry. Don't want to freak everybody out. Children didn't live long back then. If you made it to a teenage years, you made it to adulthood, your chances of getting to grow older was greater.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why, and the reason why I say that is because when I read it, the older generation made it to 60 years old, 50 years old, but the kids, they had more kids die, which took the average down.
Ah.
So once you made it to the teenage years, if you were strong and you were healthy, you made it. You made it all the way then.
Mm-hmm.
They said there was some lords that actually made it to 70.
Oh, nice.
There wasn't a lot of them, but there was some. The ones that actually took care of themselves and weren't just sitting around like all fat and lazy and stuff. But some of the lords actually made it to 70 if they were lucky. And that's also, guys, think about it. You're talking medieval time. Raids from other countries, wars. Like, if you made
possible famines and stuff, you know, because back then
plagues and everything.
Yeah, because I mean, sometimes you could get a year of just not cooperating weather and whatnot.
So I didn't see anything in the information about people working versus age to young age, old age to young age, because when we said plague and famine, that could have really dropped the age range down too.
Well, not only that, but
for
also
the average age.
Well, not only that, but back in the day, when you also think about it, they didn't necessarily have like a lot of the laws and like restrictions we have now. So if you think about it, once probably a child reached a certain age, I would assume, depending on, if it was a boy or a girl. If it was a boy, it probably started working out in the fields and whatnot. Helping out with the other men and stuff like that. And the women back then, would go.
They were in the fields too, though.
Well, some of them could have been, yeah, but others like probably were learning how to do sewing or other stuff. Like, I'm not trying to say that they were.
That's their.
Back
then that was how they did things.
Yeah,
the men had to do the most labor things. And
yeah,
they were probably. So a lot of people want to say we're in shape nowadays, that we're fit, but back then, what do you think they primarily ate?
I know they ate a lot of vegetables.
And a lot of grains.
Mm-hmm. I do know that they would have meat, but it was also
special occasions, believe it or not.
Special occasions, or if they happen to like get lucky to maybe find like a den in the field, like a rabbit den or something and whatnot.
Oh, so okay, we're talking medieval times. The lords got that.
Oh, the lords got the rabbit?
The lords got the meat. Peasants did not eat a lot of meat at all, but they were able to walk 10 miles, 20 miles a day. They were able to plant the fields, harvest the fields, defend the countryside and everything on really grain and, like you said, vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
That's what their primary intake was, grain and vegetables.
Well, also, too, they drank water, and wine. Like water, they did have their versions of alcohol, but like primarily during out in the field times, it was water because you needed to stay hydrated and stuff like that. But here's also a big factor that a lot of people don't fully want to think about is look at the way their food was grown and made compared to how we have it done now.
Right, and we're going to get into that, of course.
Yeah, but like everything they planted and eat, you knew it was healthy and whatnot. Even the animals or whatever possible meat they could have gotten, you knew was going to be, it was okay.
Healthy. So, yes, I'm glad you put that up there. Their vegetables, you said, grew and were healthier for them. Why do you believe that?
Because they were natural. Like nowadays, we can like clone seeds, clone vegetables. We can go in and genetically modify stuff. Like as far as I'm aware, I believe I saw a video about this. What is it? The lemon was actually made by man. It wasn't made in nature. It was a crossbreed, I think, between like a citron. It's like a citron fruit and something else. It was another thing that they crossbreded with and whatnot and made the lemon. So, don't fully quote me on that. I saw in a video, but I actually think that is true. Yeah, we made the lemon.
So another reason why I believe they were actually healthier back then on their vegetables, like you were saying, no pesticides.
Well, they had natural pesticides,
right?
Stuff
but they
that
didn't
they made
have chemically made by human.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like they actually used like orange zest or what? I maybe orange zest. I don't necessarily know.
We didn't live back then. We're just going off what we've heard about.
Yeah, and stuff. But yeah, they made natural pesticides to clear out their fields and do what they need to do and stuff like that and stuff. Or possible, they might have had other methods. They could have been using like certain animals or critters and stuff that might have eat those insects, like birds and stuff, like bats. Some farmers actually use bats for their crops because they're really good for natural pesticides
I
and
do
whatnot.
not kill bats.
I've never
I
killed
see,
a bat.
I see bats and I'm like,
I think they're
leave them alone, cool, because they got a job to do and they do a great job. Like people will squash spiders. Spiders are a natural pesticide.
yeah. My thing is this: when it comes to spiders, if I see a spider out in the wild or even in my apartment, let me phrase this: if it's out in the wild, no matter how big it is, I don't mess with it. I'll admire it, but I won't mess with it.
No.
Now, if it's in my apartment, I have a rule, and this is just me. If it's bigger than a quarter, I kill it. Why? Because I know some of the poisonous spiders we have up here get that big or bigger. I have a child on top of myself. I'm not trying to risk one of us getting bit. Yes, do I appreciate the fact he was in here killing stuff that probably could have been worse? Yes, I appreciate that spider's efforts. But the fact is, I spotted you. You're bigger than a quarter. I'm squishing you. Now, if you're smaller than a quarter, I'll just look over at you and be like, "What's up?" and go about my day. But if I do that same thing, look over, and you're like this big or bigger, I'm like, you getting squashed.
I grew up in the countryside, and I remember going out. You said bigger than a quarter. I went out the door one day to go to work. I had just gotten out of high school and started a full-time job. It was early in the morning. I had to be there at 6 a.m. I left. My mom had the side light on in the house, on the outside of the house, and I walked out. I was like, oh, shoot, I got to lock the door. And I didn't have a key, so I had to reach in the door and turn the key, lock on it, and shut the door. Well, as I did that, I'm not afraid of spiders. I grew up in the country. You're not afraid of spiders. Okay, I'm afraid of snakes. But spiders, no. Now, I didn't kill a snake, but I didn't mess with them. I was like, nope, I don't, nope. But I looked up at the light, and it was one of them big-ass yellow banana spiders. Oh. And I was like, oh, I'm out.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm good. And I came home. I was like, did you guys see that? And Dad goes, yeah, I took it down with a broom. I didn't kill it, but I took it down with a broom because it had a big old cobweb right there. But back then, I'm sure, like you said, they used certain things for pesticide, but they probably didn't kill a lot of the animals that they knew weren't harmful to the plants.
And that's what I'm saying too, because like in certain countries, because like when I lived in when I used to live in Georgia, one of the things that we had in our house that was a natural pesticide that I grew up with was geckos.
Yeah,
I would find them in my pantry and stuff and whatnot. You could grab a box and whatnot, and you'd see a gecko back there.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I first saw them, I freaked. I was like, "Mom, there's a thing in the house." She's like, "No, those are geckos. They're fine." I'm like, "What are?" She's like, "They're little lizards.
Leave them alone."
She was like, "I promise you." She's like, "They will not hurt you. They will not bother you." She's like, "They just eat the bugs in the house, all the spiders, all the little whatever it is." She's like, they eat everything. So if you see one when you move a box, just leave them be. And so yeah, they're not going to bother your vegetables. They just want the bugs on them. You know, so that's what they use. So that's why I say everything that I believe back then ate and did was healthier than what we have nowadays. Because like I said, as far as I know, the banana we eat, I don't even know if that's the natural banana found in the wild.
Probably not. So, talked about that, and we don't want to run out of time just talking about one subject, but how many days do you believe we work in today's workforce?
Let's see. Out of 365, we have an average of 6 holidays that people normally get off, and then people on average take a week vacation, so that's 5, 11, minus from 3. I say we work like 354 days out of the year on average.
I think you're about right, honestly.
Because, on average, some people can afford to take more than one vacation or more than 1 week off of work. But on average, most people take 1 week off. And then we get 6 holidays starting in January. We get New Year's Day. And then after that, we don't really get nothing until May.
So how many days worked in a year, do you believe?
354 days.
See, I would probably say, I would think it's a little bit more. But, or less. You said what, 3? I would almost think 320-ish. But that's still over. Okay, so let's go with 340, 320. That frame right there, right? Mm-hmm. So we did a 20 thing difference back then was 160 to 180 days in medieval time, and they worked 10 to 14 hours. Now, on an average, people probably work 8 to 10 hours nowadays.
Yeah,
Because you have 410s, you
Four
might have
tens.
312s, you might have 5/8s.
Yeah,
Then you got overtime added in. We work overtime. Did they work overtime? Yeah, but they also had a lot of days off work.
Well, the thing is, back then, if you want to think about it, it wasn't overtime because they knew their average workday was from the time the sun came up until the time the sun came down. You know, there wasn't necessarily overtime in their mind as to where
Right, no.
as to where us, you know, because like they didn't even necessarily have like a time. There wasn't a person going around going, "Hey, 4 a.m. we need you out in the field." It was, "Hey, when you see that sun coming up,
You better already
yeah,
be in
you
the
better
field."
be out there in the field."
So we're
you
going
know?
to work 320 to 340 nowadays. So we've doubled what we worked back then.
But we've slightly reduced back the amount of hours we
So
work.
here's the issue I have with this whole topic. Greed has gotten world leaders to make us think we have to work a certain amount of hours to afford what they want us to afford.
Yeah.
So now, and people are going to hate this word because it's a dirty word. And it's been a dirty word since the beginning of time. We're slaves to society and to what they want us to have. They're like, "Oh, you need to have the best purse in the world. You're a beautiful woman. You gotta have a beautiful purse, or you need a $10,000 to $30,000 engagement ring."
We're slaves to society and products and corporations.
Yes,
That's
corporations. Exactly.
That's what it
Corporations.
is.
And so they've been able to tell everybody, "Hey, we took away slavery in all these countries, but we've classified it as something else." So, to live, you got to work. To have insurance, you got to work. To have health care, you got to work.
To have a car, you got to work.
Right.
To eat, you got to work. To
Right.
have somewhere to go home to, you know, so you're not in the elements. You
So
got to work.
Guys, I work 20 miles from home. These guys in medieval time were walking 10 to 15 miles, maybe 20. They did 15 on an average. So my lazy butt don't even need a car.
Yeah.
If I want to be healthy and actually do what I need to do. Right? There's places in the world today that they walk everywhere. What was it? It was an Indian. Was Indians the Sioux Indians? I want to think of Sioux or Comanche. On an average, would run 40 miles a day.
Well, like I know,
Alex.
What is it? I wish I could remember the tribe or whatnot because I saw it on Discovery Channel back in the day. But there's a tribe out there that their cardio activity is so insane that apparently like these guys can run full speed sprint for hours.
Yeah,
not
I know
minutes,
what you're talking about. I believe it.
Hours and somehow they have just learned to get their breathing right and whatnot. And even the film dude was like, these guys can just run and run and run. And like I said, we get in a car to go everywhere.
Heck, you spend 8 hours a day walking on a concrete pad and you're tired.
Yeah.
And you're not even walking for the whole 8 hours.
And here's the other thing. We have better shoes nowadays for support and whatnot, what they did. Back then they had simple sandals, maybe some simple shoes and stuff made out of leather and whatnot, or
It was
hide.
a pad.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it was there was nothing there.
Nowadays we have, arch support, heel support, wide feet, this and that and whatnot. And like you said, still even with what we walk and have after 8 hours, like, oh man, I'm tired and ready to go home.
Again, okay, cool. Back then in medieval time, and other times, they had a healthier diet. Their feet and their legs and their body was better tuned to their environment. And now they have us today in our societies working our lives away to what? You're 70? Oh, you can retire now. And then you get nothing.
Unless
then
you
we're
invest your
ingesting
money, yeah.
all the bad food in your body that they want to give you with chemicals and toxins and stuff. And so I can't sit there and justify what our countries and corporations have done to us over the years when we technically look. I was a kid. I grew up being with my family on the weekends. And now most of my family's going to work the weekends. I work the weekends. Heck, I just got done working a weekend.
Yeah. Maybe we were working yesterday.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, because I remember too, like being a kid, even like with my mom going to see family members on that side. Then if I spent time with my dad, seeing family members on his side. Nowadays, it's like,
Yeah, and it's what society's done to us.
oh,
The
it
food
is.
we eat is unhealthy.
Well, not
It,
only
it,
that,
it shortens
but
our lifespan.
well, it's not only
Well,
the.
not even really shortens it, I guess.
But no, it definitely does shorten it. Cause,
Well, I mean, if you think about it, right, they lived to be average 50 to 60 years old back then, right? And granted, if they had some of the medicines we have, yes.
oh, dude, I guarantee if we literally just went back in time, on a quick side note, if we went back in time with just some medicine, was like, here, guys, take this for the stuff you're about to encounter and whatnot. I guarantee our lifespans nowadays, I think, would be almost double on average and whatnot. But that's a whole nother different side topic.
But
it's not only that too. It's also if you look at like with the slavery to technology, like a great example and whatnot. And I know I'll get hate for this, and I don't really care because I'm not a fan of them. iPhone. People are slaves to iPhones.
phones in general, man.
No,
Everybody's on phones.
No, iPhone is the worst. I'm not talking being on the phone. I'm talking about the fact is that as soon as a new iPhone drops, like it could. What's the newest one right now? Is it the 17? So they could literally come out with the 17 Plus, and the only thing they'll say on that phone is they added an extra half a zoom to it, and almost every Apple owner will go out there and upgrade it because they're like, I gotta have it. I gotta have it. Like to me, that is being a slave to corporate technology. Like you feel like you need to have it when you don't.
It's not even about the phone itself. It's about how. And I don't want to do this because it's celebrities and stuff, but when you see oh man, I'm gonna be sexist right now. When women see women wearing things that they look amazing in, and don't get me wrong, there's some amazing looking women and some nice stuff. You don't need it.
Yeah.
But everything out there, TV, sponsors, commercials,
Influencers nowadays.
Do you want to buy?
They keep.
I know people that are on TikTok that get sent stuff to either wear or say, "Hey, look what I got," and there you go. Oh my gosh, she or he has got this. I got to go get it. They're a major influencer. They got millions of followers. If I get that and I start a show, I'll get those.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is like, and like what that person could even show, they would never even use themselves. They just got sent and going, "Hey, we'll pay you this much just to kind of flash and say you use this or whatnot and stuff." And next thing you know, they're like, "Hey, I use this." And then, like you said, they're like, "I got to go get it." No, you don't.
So, yeah, I mean,
it's scary how bad things have technically gotten worse from back then, like how they used to work and do to nowadays. In my opinion, I think it's worse compared to what they had. Yes, there's differences. We have different forms to entertain ourselves as what they did, but back then I would rather work back then and be a part of that because they spent time with family. Festivals.
Dude, they had, I can't remember. Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. I can't remember. There was a festival all the time back then. Well, like, there was more festivals than what we get now.
I know over in like the Italy and whatnot, they had Carnival. I think that's what it was called. Like that was a massive big festival that happened. It was like a 3 to 5 day long festival or something like that happened every year for
around Christmas. Churches did not allow anybody to work. Mm-hmm. You weren't allowed to work. Faith made it to where, hey, guess what? Churches just said, the Pope just said, this person just said, our priest just said, whatever it was. You ain't allowed to work.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't want to go to church, you got to stay home.
Yep.
Well, okay, cool. I'm off for the day.
Yeah.
But I know we're running out of time. But,
yeah.
And we could talk about slave to society all the time, but
yeah,
I would like to actually challenge people if they look at their life today and what could you give up? And just for one day. What could you give up for one day? I listened to Charlie Kirk a long time ago, before he passed away. God rest his soul. He always talked about, hey, could you give up your phone for one day and only answer it basically for phone calls or emergencies?
Mm-hmm.
Could you actually give it up? Could you stop putting it right there in front of your face and actually do something for one day? If you guys have an idea what you would like me to try to give up for one day, let me know. I'll try it. Now, I'm not promising you guys will stick to it, but I would try it. But again, guys, hit that subscribe button if you're new. hit that like button. Let's get it out there. And remember, we do post every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. But yeah.
This has been Babbling Buffoons. All babbling, all buffoonery.